Well, hello everybody, and welcome to day one of the Fallout Bar after day one of the European Championships 2024. I'm joined by Corwin, who always a good face to see alongside me for the ride. Strange night of action. I think you just before we came on posed a little question that there's definitely people in the chat that have a better idea of than me and you. Is this the first time we've ever had a session where no game has gone more than 9 legs?
Yeah, it's a bit of a crazy session, really. As in, when you looked at the games tonight, there was certainly one or two you thought, "Oh, it's got 11 legs written all over it." But here we are, quarter to 10, already getting into it in the Fallout Bar. As in, it's lovely to have Thursday night darts back again on the telly. As in, cannot beat a bit of Thursday night darts. Just didn't expect us to be kicking off quite so early.
No, neither did I. I was expecting to have quite a little bit of time left before we get onto this, but an early night's never a bad thing, is it?
No, exactly.
Really good night of action. So some good performances, some not good performances. I think we'll kick off at the start with possibly the performance of the night. Richie Edhouse doing what Richie Edhouse does on a European stage.
Yeah, that's exactly it. As in, I've written a few articles this year for Online Darts, especially the sort of the first day or two of the European tour, and a common theme has been Richie Edhouse wins in Europe, and yeah, he didn't disappoint again tonight. As in, I don't know what it is, whether it's the European air or the European water, but he loves a trip abroad and averaged over 109 tonight in battering Gerwen van Duijvenbode 6-1, who obviously is not short of form himself over the last few weeks. But yeah, Edhouse matches on again.
Yeah, it was very much that. I mean, some serious performance as well in there, averaging almost 110. 109.48 the final figure. A 145 out in there as well, and a couple of 180s. It was just, he just never let him in the game, did he?
No, and that's the thing with Van Veen. That's what you've got to do. You've got to keep him out of the game. But the longer you keep him quieter, the better chance you've got of winning. And even though we went 1-1 in the match, Edhouse just found another gear and went a bit berserk then. And once he got that lead, what he did well, where maybe some players falter, is he just kept his foot on the throttle and carried on and ran out quite comfortable in the end. Well, very comfortable to be fair. 6-1 is pretty much as comfortable as it comes.
Yeah, not far off at all, as you mentioned. And really good performance from him, like I said, carrying on what we've seen throughout sort of the European Tour for him. Not so good of a performance in the next game from Gerwen Price. I mean, it wasn't awful by any means, but just you get the feeling that it's not where he wants to be right now.
No, that's it. And we sort of saw on his social media shortly afterwards him sort of saying, "Oh, okay, Daryl took his chances and congratulated Daryl Gurney for the win," but saying that he's taken a month off now, suggesting that we won't be seeing him in the Grand Slam of that. Some players, a month off might do them good, and Gary might be one of those players. We all know how good he can be, and we all know how much he loves the World Championship, even with a crowd. But it's sort of, I don't know, it's never good to see a player sort of admitting that they're going to take a month off and stepping away from darts for a while, because obviously maybe his darts aren't as good at the moment as they have been, but Gerwen Price in the tournament certainly adds something special to every tournament he plays in. So shame to read that, but obviously at the same time, Daryl Gurney played well and deserved the win tonight.
Yeah, really, really solid performance from Gurney. I think it's important that we don't miss that when we're talking about this game, because as much as the headline is going to be Gezi and his post afterwards that he is taking that time off, this was really, really solid from Daryl Gurney and very much deserved the win. We've left me in charge of this, and again, what I've done is I've forgotten that we've got some clips here as well. So we're just gonna go back for a minute and just forget that we've talked about that game, and we're gonna hear briefly from Richie Edhouse
100%. I mean, when I watched that game, the next day I seen Luke and I said, "You're not a machine." I thought he was a machine because Luke's been winning everything and Mike won it. So no, there is confidence in that, because if Mike can do it, why can't we?
Fair enough. So you can't really argue with that. Like you say, I think that win, like I said, we've not touched on that win for Mike DeDecker last week. Obviously talked about it on the live lounge on Monday, but it's going to give a lot of players confidence that you can sort of come out of nowhere and win these events.
Oh, definitely, and that's it, isn't it? You've only got to start a long tournament well to get yourself into it, and then who knows? As in, and obviously the World Grand Prix offers something different in the fact that it's double in, double out. But irrespective of that, as in, I think a lot of these players were thinking, right, Luke Humphries is beatable. Yes, you've got to play at the top of your game and hope that Luke is at sort of 70, 80%. I'm saying Luke because I think at the moment Luke Humphries is in a field of his own. So if you can keep with him and put him under pressure, he will miss darts, because at the end of the day, he is human, and even sublime dart playing humans occasionally miss a dart. So yeah, I think
not robots as much as we think they are sometimes.
No, exactly. So hopefully it does give confidence to more players, and that we will see better darts on our televisions, and maybe more. I don't want to say obscure because that sounds a bit harsh, but more unpredicted winners maybe of TV tournaments.
As impressive as it's been from Luke Humphries for the last 12 months, it is nice to see different people winning events, and as much as anything, it makes it easier to pick players for the Premier League. Otherwise, you're going to be playing himself every week the way that it's not. So yeah, it's nice to have them spread around, have different winners, and get to see different people go deep in tournaments and see what they can do. And I think another man that we've not seen that from for quite some time is Daryl Gurney, who's would be another one that would we look at as probably a surprise winner of an event at the moment. But really solid performance from him as well, and he spoke to us as well after his game.
Like, whatever he had, I believed I could back it, and I believed I could beat it, and I knew I could win. And then maybe the next time then I struggled, but I don't know why that is. But no, feel good he won that game, because obviously I haven't won that many games against Gizzy at all, never mind on the stage or Pro Tour. I know I beat him in the World Series, but it's not a ranking tournament, so I don't know if he really wanted to be there or whatever, but glad to beat him in a one that actually matters.
Yeah,
I like that. Sorry, Daryl Gurney smiling, bit of swagger about him. I think when he's got that back, he's a dangerous player, and it's disappeared for a few years now. But wins like this, big performances, if he could go deep in one of these tournaments, you sort of put him in the mix to upset a few when it comes to the Worlds, and it just adds a dimension you may not have expected 3-6 months ago.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And like I say, it's been so long now since we've seen him sort of competing at the top level, and there's no real reason you can sort of pick for it, because the throw still looks the same. I assume he still works as hard as he ever has, and it got to be just confidence, really, as much as anything, and just getting back in that habit of winning games on the big stage, because as we know, he can go deep in tournaments, he can win tournaments, and he seems to have a little bit of, like you say, that confidence back and that little bit of swagger where he thinks, I can beat everyone again.
Yeah, and I think that's it, isn't it? That winning is a habit, but losing is also a habit. And once you start getting into the habit where, first round defeat, you sort of stop believing in yourself. And I'd imagine in an individual sport, once that belief starts to disappear, it's pretty much game over, because if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will, and then it's a struggle. So hopefully Gurney's got the belief back, he's got the swagger, he's got the confidence, and he'll just chuck his name in the mix again, because the more names in the mix, the better darts we get to watch on television.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that. Next one was Ross Smith against Luke Woodhouse. Now, I think this one might have bust a few coupons this evening, because I didn't see this result. I certainly didn't see it by this margin either. A game that looks pretty even when you look at the numbers on it, certainly in terms of the averages. But the telling point is that Ross Smith has only had 3 darts at a double in this match, and you're not going to win many first to sixes if you only have 3 darts at a double.
No, that's it, and it's bizarre really because over the last year, 18 months, obviously Luke Humphries has taken the headlines, Luke Little has taken the headlines, but Ross Smith has always been there or thereabout, and he's been putting big numbers in, prolific 180 scorer, taking his chances, sort of watching him, imagining his opponents get very frustrated because he's got 3 darts in his hand going for the double, and more often than not, he'll hit it with that 3rd dart. When you think you've got a shot again, he'll take it out. A bit like an Andy Hamilton of old, Mr. Reliable, James Wade of old, Mr. Reliable, where you think you're back in the game and they take it away from you. But
Take it away,
but this was probably the result of the night in terms of the shock. Nothing against Luke Woodhouse because we know how capable he is. We've seen it time and time again, but I just think from a Ross Smith side of things, with how well he's been playing, I don't think many would have picked Woodhouse to be the name in the second round.
No, and definitely not, like I say, by a margin of 6-1. It was impressive from Woodhouse. Like I say, Ross Smith, you do kind of expect more from him now. He is that player that is competing again and again and again in big tournaments, and it's going to hurt this one as well because he's defending winners' money from 2 years ago in this tournament as well. Big chunk off the ranking that.
Yeah, it is, and he's sort of in that middle ground where losing a lot of money or winning a lot of money in one weekend certainly chucks you up or throws you down the rankings. So I don't think he needs to be panic stations yet because he's still averaged over 95. It's not like he's gone up there, checked the 75 average and thought, why the hell did I bother coming to Germany? It's just come up against a Luke Woodhouse who's taken his chances and got over the line. But yeah, it is a lot of money to lose in one weekend. Don't know how I'd cope if I lost that much money in one weekend.
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, like you say, he's in that middle ground where it does make a big difference. 11 places on his ranking he's dropped with that result.
That is big, isn't it? And when you sort of
20th.
Yeah, and when you sort of think now's the time Premier League talk starts and rankings for the World Championship and all that, as in all of a sudden it is a big hit and it does make a difference coming to the business end of the year. So
he could potentially go a lot lower as well, depending on results coming up as well. He could seriously drop as well. Well, a few more places at least, and all of a sudden you're sort of looking 24 and below looking in. It's massive change. But we haven't got a clip of Luke Woodhouse, so I will just use this bit of time where we'd have done that to say, everyone in the chat room, please get involved. You're the guys that make this show every time. So we'll obviously get you all involved when we get to the predictions for tomorrow night at the end. But everyone, like, subscribe. You can't get involved if you don't subscribe because we are mean like that. So you have to be a subscriber to comment in the chat room. So make sure you hit that button if you haven't already. And obviously, faces that we see in here all the time, obviously get involved as you always do. The next game, this was very much Gary Anderson doing what Gary Anderson does. 101 average, a 30% on his doubles, so he still missed a few up there, but gave himself more than enough opportunities and scored well and got the game done.
Yeah, it seems to be what Gary Anderson is doing at the moment, where he's going up there, he's playing like Gary Anderson can play, and getting the job done. And in Stephen Bunting, it's a tricky first round opponent because we all know how good and how high Stephen Bunting's average can can go back himself. So I think Gary would be relieved maybe to have come up against an under par Bunting this evening, because if you get 100 average and through the round 2, then with the world of darts that is at the moment, you've got to be pretty satisfied, because obviously sometimes 100 average doesn't get you anything. So I think it's good to see Gary playing like he is again. He's another one who seems to be enjoying his darts, and it's just everything's easy when Gary Anderson enjoys his darts. And again, it just makes him dangerous, and we know what Gary can do. So if he can ruffle a few feathers with some of these younger boys and get amongst it, then who knows how far Gary can go here or later on in the big one come Christmas time. Yeah,
you're absolutely right there. When Gary Anderson is playing well, there is that, like I say, it's that freedom. He just looks like there's no stress, there's no worry. He's not putting too much pressure on himself, and he's just going up there and enjoying his darts. And James has said it in the chat there. Would love to see Gary beat MVG and go on a run. And that is nothing against MVG from any of us, but I fully agree with that, because I just love seeing Gary Anderson play darts and go deep in tournaments.
I think it's the way he is playing. I wouldn't be surprised. As in, I think MVG will be the nervous one of them to come that game, because Gary knows what Gary will do. MVG has to hope that he can take his game a bit higher to get past Gary. But it's certainly when they're both in the right mood, we tend to get classics between those two. So quite a treat for us in the second round.
100%. Yeah, that's games that you'd love to see early on in tournaments. Yeah. Absolutely that. Another man averaging 101, nearly 102, probably doing a disservice there. Ryan Searle in making this look pretty comfortable against Raymond van Barneveld, 6-2 winner. Very good on the outer ring, nearly up at 50% there, and just a steady performance despite some pretty good scoring at times from Barney. It just wasn't enough for him to stick with Ryan Searle.
No, and I think what we see here is that 180s look good, but if you don't back it up, it doesn't make any difference at all. Because if you look at the stats without knowing the score, you'd presume that Barney won this game, because most of the stats went in his favour. Obviously, there's only one important stat, and that's the final score. But yeah, Searle is another one who's just sort of in that middle ground at the moment, and if he gets a good run, he flies up the rankings. So it'll be interesting to see how he goes on from here, because what we may see from Ryan Searle too often is he'll get a big win against one of the big boys, and then he doesn't back it up in the next round. And I know Barney's ranking might not be what it was, or his game might not be what it was, but at the end of the day, he's still a 5-time champion of the world. So he's a big name player to beat. So hopefully for Searle, that he gets backs up this performance in the next round.
Yeah, and then as we mentioned, we've already sort of teased this one with, everyone who's listening to us has generally watched the darts anyway. So as we always say, it doesn't really matter if we spoil anything. But the next one was Michael van Gerwen up against Gabriel Clemens. It can be a little bit tricky, this sort of a game, when you're playing the home player who's clearly going to have all of the support. But Van Gerwen didn't really let that affect him at all. He's more than experienced enough to know what he's doing in that sort of situation anyway. But just a really good, solid performance from him to set up that tie in round 2 with Gary Anderson.
Yeah, exactly. And what Van Gerwen did well was he didn't give the crowd much opportunity to cheer for Clemens, as in it was just a very professional performance, reeling off those 4 legs towards the end of the game, and just he sort of toyed a bit, really, isn't he? And he was always in control, knew what he was doing, and just a bit of not a cat and mouse game, but a game where he knew he was in control, was going to win it, and just the crowd couldn't affect him. Nothing was going to affect him, and he was probably already thinking, "Oh, I've got Gary in the next round if I win this game." So let's give him something to enjoy in round 2.
Yeah, that's quite possibly it. try and sort of almost get them on side here, and then see what we can do in the next round. The next game was a little bit of a strange one, in that Dirk got off to an absolute flyer in this game and was 5-1 up, seemingly cruising to victory at that point. And then all of a sudden, Shindy came firing back at him, got it back to 5-3, and you thought there was all of a sudden a little bit of jeopardy for Dirk at that point. And then all of a sudden, it just seemed like he had all day to finish off the final leg.
Yeah, it was a strange one, because as you say, I think Schindler ended the game 5 points higher than the averages, and at 5-1 was nowhere to be seen. But then turns it on, gets into the game. But yeah, I think when you're 5-1 down, you're sort of Dirk knew he had 3 legs where he'd be starting in the last 6. So in the last 5, sorry, he'd be starting 3 of the last 5. So he had 3 chances effectively to get over the line on his own darts. And Schindler was going to miss a chance or something, or not quite get going in one of the legs. That's what happened. But I wonder if Schindler was sort of paying the price maybe for the number 1 seed tag in front of his home crowd, as in a lot of pressure on his young shoulders. And in Dirk, you've just got, well, somebody who doesn't really care, because when you look at his walk-on song, you know he's pumped up, as in he's ready for war, isn't he? So a few thousand Germans shouting against him isn't gonna stop him if he's in the right frame of mind.
No, it's not. Like you say, if you're going to get worried about sort of what anyone thinks of you, that walk-on is probably not the one to be throwing out there. To be very clearly not worried about that. And like I say, it did show in the performance. And I think I'd be more inclined to say that the number 1 seed and the home crowd sort of affected Shindy if we'd seen him throw in a bit of a stinker. But he's actually played pretty well. Like he didn't do enough early enough, but that was also because Dirk was playing very well at that point as well, and sort of didn't give him the opportunities. I think it was still a solid performance. He's not gone up there and sort of shit the bed, so to speak, but he's played okay, and sometimes you just get beat by the better player on the night, and I think that's what happened here. And so on to the final game. Now this was not competitive at all, or even sort of slightly anything like competitive. It could have been, because Dave Chisnell has missed a Dave Chisnell amount of doubles, but it was just, without playing particularly well, it was just clinical when it needed to be from Michael Smith. A couple of magic moments. There was a 1-4-8 checkout followed by a 1-6-1 in the next leg as well, where Chizzy had missed a couple of opportunities, I think, in both of those legs, or was very handy in both of those legs at least. But this was just not very good all round.
No, and you sort of know it's a Chizzy-esque performance when in 2 of the 6 legs played, he ends up on 2 and 3. That sort of sums up, I guess, where his doubling is at in that game. But yeah, Michael Smith just did enough, didn't he? And it was just a case of getting over the line. As in, I'm quite glad we got a 1-4-8 and a 1-6-1 checkout in there, because it gave...
Other than that, we had nothing.
No, exactly. It gave a poor game a bit of sparkle. And when it's the final game of the night, if you're not getting an 11-leg thriller, you want something to go home smiling about. Unfortunately, Smith did give us those 2 moments. But yeah, we didn't learn much in where Smith is this weekend. And we just learned once again that Chisnell, when it comes to it, cannot hit the double to save his life. And it's a shame, because most aspects of his game are very, very well. And if it was scoring, he'd probably win majors. But seeing as you've got to hit that outer ring at least 6 times to win a game of darts, then you're going to struggle when you can't seem to find that.
Yeah, it's the same old story once again, isn't it? And the longer it goes on, and it's gone on for a hell of a time already at this point, the more and more difficult it becomes to get over the line. And yeah, he looked to be really struggling up there tonight. And like I say, we have no idea where Michael Smith is at because he didn't have to do anything in this game, really. He's going to have to do a hell of a lot more in the next round. He's got Richie Edhouse up next, who we know is playing well and we know can hit doubles and hit big averages on this European Tour stage. He's going to have to improve massively on this, but there could we know there's levels to go, but he could also have that level of form there at the moment. We just don't know yet.
Yeah, and I think as well with Smith, sometimes you see if there's nothing coming back, he can't seem to get up to find that extra gear. Where if Edhouse comes back and starts off 180, 140, Smith knows he's in a battle, and he'll have to turn it on. So hopefully, for Smith's fans anyway, that he is forced to play better, or it'll be a short trip for him in Germany this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like with this format where we already know who's playing who in after that night. We've not got 8 people playing potentially 2 people. We have got going into the second round Dirk van Duijvenbode against Daryl Gurney, Ryan Searle, Woodhouse, Michael Smith against Richie Edhouse, and then what is probably the tie of the next round, even without knowing half of it, Michael van Gerwen against Gary Anderson to come, which is always nice to know already who people are playing rather than sort of having to see that up and just having the 2 halves of the draw play on separate nights.
Yeah, what I like with that top half is that those 4 ties are pretty even. The one maybe, depending on which Michael Smith turns up, you'd say maybe there's a strong favourite there. But other than that, it's awesome. And Dirk, Gurney, Searle, Woodhouse will be in the semi-final.
Yeah.
And so there's a real chance for one of those 4 to sort of make some big inroads in the ranking if they could go deep.
Yeah, to go all the way deep and potentially do a Mike De Decker and go and lift the title. Yeah, I think, like you say, there's very little there really looking at it that you think is one-sided by any chance out of those games. And early odds on the Smith Edhouse game, getting nearly 2-1 on Edhouse, the way he's played in the first game and the way Michael Smith played, that looks a tasty bit of value early on.
So that's brave from whoever's given those prices.
I know, yeah, they've gone early with that. I think, depending on how people feel, we might see that close up a little bit as we get towards Saturday. But, maybe just from me having a little win. No, obviously, always gamble responsibly. We have got another clip to show and another one loading, so we'll go straight in. We've got Gary Anderson to hear from before we get on to predictions, and we might just have Michael van Gerwen soon as well.
It would, but you're going back when I was good at darts. Now I'm kind of a bit hit or miss. But hey, listen, we've had some belters. I've always said the best game I've ever played in, bar for winning the world title, was myself and Michael in Dubai. Outside, gale force winds, 1,000 degrees. It was a cracking game of darts.
What would it mean to get your hands on another TV title? We've seen you win on the Pro Tour, the Euro Tour. What would it mean to get your hands on another TV one?
I'd be lying if I said that it would be nice, but like I say, if it happens, fantastic. If it doesn't, Phil, I ain't going to lose any sleep. I really enjoy doing the Pro Tours. TV ones, I could take or leave. I'm at that kind of stage now. But I do like the Pro Tours. We sit at the table, waiting on them, and we'll have a cracking laugh. It's how darts used to be, and I think that's what kind of helps me in the Pro Tours.
Gary, congratulations.
Well, I absolutely pulling him up straight away on the fact that he said when I was good at darts, because he is still very, very good at darts, and that is not up for question whatsoever. But interesting that he prefers the Pro Tours now. He can just have a bit of a laugh with the lads and just sort of relax a little bit more and not have to sort of worry about traveling abroad to this sort of tournament or just getting up on the big stage and just enjoy himself a little bit.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? He's pretty much completed that. As in, whatever he does now is a bonus. So why not maybe have a laugh with your mates, enjoy it while you can? Because without wanting to disrespect Gary, I'm sure he could go on for another 30 years if he wanted to. He's probably getting towards the autumn of his darting career. So yeah, make the most of the opportunities and just have a laugh, because at the end of the day, that's what we all do when we go to the pub and play darts, is have a laugh. So if you can do it on the Pro Tour, why not?
That's what it's about, isn't it? It's why we all started playing the game, and why people a lot better than us sort of play the game in the first place when they started as well. I mean, they started in the same way that we all did. No one starts playing darts just because they're thinking of being the best darts player in the world. You start off having a laugh with your mates down the pub, essentially. So yeah, lovely to hear that from him. It's good to hear. And then we have got Michael van Gerwen already, which teed up at the perfect time. It's been loading in the background. I think the internet's not been fantastic over in Germany today, but we now have Michael van Gerwen.
I'm enjoying the darts again, and I think you need to have that if you want to perform well. And I've been in the game. It's my nearly 18 years, I think. 2007, I crossed over. So in January, 18 years. So, and I'm only 35. So I've been in the PDC for a long time. I played a lot of tournaments so far, but you want to keep performing well. You want to keep moving on, and I think that's what I'm doing. There's still a lot to game for, still a lot to fight for, and I think this is a really important tournament. I didn't win this one for a few years, so yeah, my eyes and hands are only one way. I need to make sure I'm going to win this.
You said about enjoying it again. Has Luke and Luke really inspired you again to enjoy it? Because I remember when you were coming through.
Yes and no. You need to inspire yourself, because if you don't have the willing to win, you can have all the talent in the world, but you're not going to make it. You know what I mean? You need to do it yourself. I'm going to fight for everything. I'm feeling good, and I think there's still a lot more in the tank, and for the next 7-8 years. So we're going to see what's going on. Yeah, of course, it's always going to be a blockbuster. Wherever you have a good or bad game, it's always going to be a tense game. We don't want to lose to each other. We know each other really well. But I'm feeling comfortable. I'm feeling good, and I know I can hurt him on the right moments. You know, we all know Gary Anderson. Yeah, he's one of the best players I ever saw in my life, but he's also a part-timer, do you know what I mean? So I need to make sure I'm going to do the right thing and bet on my own game.
He doesn't like it being anything but all about him, does he? It's a little bit of just, you know, for a fact that the Lukes have inspired him to sort of push him on a little bit to a new level and try and get himself up. But he doesn't want to say it. He wants to keep it the fact that it's him driving himself on more than anyone else, because at the end of the day, when he's on, it is just his show.
Oh, exactly. But of course, if what the two Lukes have done don't inspire you, then you probably shouldn't continue to be a darts player, because they've taken the game to a new level. And MVG knows if he wants to be sitting at that top table for the next few years, he has to play catch up. And I think for darting fans across the world, a hungry MVG, a happy MVG, just adds more spice to the to every tournament he plays in. I love the fact he called Gary Anderson a part-timer, as in getting those mind games in. And now he knows how to play an audience. He knows how to get in his opponent's head. Obviously, Gary might not listen to it, might not even see it, but
somehow I feel if there's one person that's probably seen enough over his time to not quite get drawn into that, it's Gary Anderson. And as we all know, Gary Anderson just wants to play darts.
Exactly, and hopefully with this build up now bubbling nicely towards Saturday, that when they do clash on the hockey, that the darts live up to the talk, because I think we could be in for a real treat on Saturday. As in, we don't know how many times we'll see them face each other on the television again. So I think every time we do see a game like Gary Anderson v MVG, we just gotta enjoy it and take it for what it is, which will be a quality game of darts.
Exactly that. That's the way I'll be looking at it as well. It's one of those games that the outcome almost doesn't matter. It's just watching it, enjoy it. It'll be played at a great pace and it'll be a great watch. And someone will come out on top, but it'll just be, there won't be any there'll be no reason for someone going out on top other than the fact that they were just the better player on the day.
Definite.
With that, into tomorrow's darts, and it's nice to do these predictions on tomorrow's darts when it actually is still tomorrow and not today, whereas it usually is when we're on a fallout bar predicting the day afterwards. But the early finish tonight has given us that opportunity. And we start the night with Danny Noppert against Joe Cullen. Now, at the Grand Prix, we saw a little bit of a resurgence from Joe Cullen. We saw him play better than we've seen him play for a while, certainly in terms of getting over the line and winning matches. However, he's then lost 3 first-rounders in a row at 2 Players' Championships and a Euro Tour. So I'm not quite sure where to put him. We've seen Noppert obviously also lose first round at that same Euro Tour last time out. I have no idea where I'm going with this, so I'm going to leave it to you first of all, and obviously everyone in the chat room get involved. We will throw some predictions up on the screen as we go. But Danny Noppert starts the night off.
Yeah, thanks for that, Hospital Pass Cam. This is one of those games where it could go 6-0 to Noppert, 6-0 to Cullen, 6-5 to Noppert, 6-5 to Cullen. As in, I don't think on any of my appearances on the Fallout Bar I've ever been so glued to the fence, because I know whatever I say will end up in a catastrophe for the opponent. I do think Cullen has shown signs of getting there, but I don't feel like I've seen enough to believe he beats Noppert tomorrow. I think Noppert wins 6-3.
I'm struggling to disagree with you. And you were always getting the hospital pass for the first one, because I'm running this show today. So if there's any opportunity to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm struggling to disagree with you. I want to disagree with you because I really like Joe Cullen, a big fan. And I want to see him back playing at his best, especially as we get to this stage of the year where we're coming up to the biggest one of them all. If he can have a deep run at that, it's something that we'd all like to see. I just think Danny Noppert will be a little bit too consistent for him. And I think that he wins it. I'm going to give Cullen an extra leg, but 6-4. I don't think it gets as close as a 6-5. Couple of predictions in the chat room as well. We have got James with Noppert 6-2. Shelty, hi Shelty, welcome along again. Noppert 6-3, agreeing with you. And Maliki going a little bit tighter than both of us have gone and gone 6-5 for Noppert, but there is an overwhelming consensus that it is going to be Danny Noppert that makes it through to round 2. Next up is another really close game. This is not getting any easier for you, but I'm going to make you go first again. We have Chris Dobey against Johnny Clayton. I feel like you may have more of a sway here on which way you want to go, but which way are you going?
Yeah, well, I actually think this game produces the first last leg decider of the tournament so far. Had you asked me this question 3 months ago, I'd have probably gone Dobey. I just think there are signs there now that Clayton is getting back to his best, and his interviews now, he seems more like his old self, like he's got that hunger back, like that sort of that terrier bite back to him where he clings onto your leg and he just won't let go. And I think for that, and the fact that he's Welsh, and I went against him during the Grand Prix. I'm going to go.
I was on that. I think I was on
yeah,
that.
Yeah. I sort of went heart against head over heart there, but I'm going to go heart over head this time and say Clayton wins at 6-5.
It's very difficult to argue with that. I think, same as you, that we have seen a lot more from Johnny Clayton and a lot more of the real Johnny Clayton in recent times. He played recently in a Players' Championship and it did finish 6-5 with Dobie getting over the line on that occasion. And I do think it just feels like one of those games that will be close. I'm with you. I'm going to agree with you exactly on the. I wanted to be different, but Johnny Clayton wins this, and I think he wins it 6-5. I can't see there being a big gap between it. I was toying with giving an extra leg gap, but I think it does go all the way. And in the 10th game of the tournament, we finally see one that goes all the way.
If only we had Dan, we'd have had a Dobie vote in the corner as well.
Not only a Dobie, it would have been 6-0 as well.
6-0 Dobie, yeah.
Mr. Simpson he was meant to be on this evening as well, but he is not because he's too busy planning and packing for his weekend away for his anniversary. So happy anniversary to
happy
Mr.
Anniversary indeed, yeah.
10 years, I think it is, which is very, very impressive.
Doesn't look old enough.
Mrs. S.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going to say Mr. Simpson looks old enough. I'm not having that said about him. Not when I'm in charge. In the chat, we have very much the same consensus. We have 3 predictions in the chat, which are all 6-5 as well. Malachy going the other way. He is the one outlier that has Dobie winning this one. Shelty's got Dobie losing 6-5. And then we've also got James with a 6-5 for Clayton as well. So it is just nailed on to be 6-0 one way or the other.
Without a doubt now, yeah. We've jinxed it between the 5 of us. So.
We're not getting the 6-5 at any point. Rob Cross, James Wade. And I'm gonna give you a little break here. And I'm gonna put myself up first for this one. I'm not sure why I've done that because I've not decided yet in my own head which one I'm going to go with. But I just think that Rob Cross is playing very well at the moment. He has been doing for a long period of time now. And yes, James Wade's going to look at this if he watches this and say that we don't give him any credit and that we should give him more credit. But he's not as good as Rob Cross is now. He just isn't. And Rob Cross wins 6-3.
Yeah, I'm just looking at their head-to-head. And in the last 5, Wade has won 4 of them. Now, granted, this stretches back as far as the Grand Slam in 2021, according to the stats I've seen. But it's hard to sort of go against Cross because he's... I wouldn't call him he's been my surprise package this year because he's a quality player, but he's gone deeper in more tournaments than I thought he would. I think he's outperformed what I expected him to do this year. So I want to disagree with you to make it interesting, but it's hard when the games are like this. So I think Cross wins. I think he wins 6-2. I don't know. I think, I think he just powers past Wade in the middle part of the game.
Yeah, I just think I know we've seen Wade score better of recent, sort of at least in the 180 stakes as much as anything. Like we know he's just a metronomic 140 hitter, but he has sort of looked hit more 180s recently, but I still just think when it comes down to it, Cross has just got that extra gear in the scoring stage. And all year this year, he's looked so good on the outer ring. Like he's looked unflappable almost. And I think that will be the thing. I don't think he'll give Wade enough opportunities for him to get the upset.
No, and I think when he needs a cheeky treble 19 or cheeky treble 18, Cross seems to find it, and he'll hit that 132 to leave the 170 or the 136 to leave the 170. He's got that ability to switch it up when he needs to find that treble. We don't expect him to hit it, and yeah, I think Wade needs to smash it out the park. I think if he's going to beat Cross,
he's going to have to be at his very best, isn't he? Like you say, he's not going to be given opportunities in this, which is when we see more often than not James Wade wins these sort of games, is when people give him a chance.
Yeah, that's true.
And I just don't think Rob Cross is going to do that. Another person who doesn't think Rob Cross is going to do that is Shelty in the chat. He's got 6-4 for Cross. He's got it a bit tighter than me and you have. And then we've got a couple disagreeing with us. So despite you not going against me, we're making it interesting. Malachi's got 6-4 for me, as has James. So we're being challenged at least on our knowledge, which is always probably a smart way to go, to be honest, a lot of the time. Up next, Ricardo Petresco against Damon Heta. This is another tough one. And I'm going to give you time to think about it again, because I'm going to take it on first, because I'm just generous like that. I'm just a nice guy.
You are a gentleman.
That's it. A gentleman and a scholar. Ricardo Petresco this is sort of his stage, the Euro Tour, isn't it? This is where he sort of really came to prominence. Damon Heta's playing some good darts. And I'm looking at the odds on it, and I just think that they've got it pretty right, to be honest. I think Heta's a 5-2 on favourite, and you got 2-1 against Petresco. But I don't think that that's wrong at all in terms of the odds, but I do like the upset here. I just fancy it, and I have no reason whatsoever to pick the upset, because on everything that we've seen, Damon Heta is playing better than Petresco is. I just think he pulls it out of the bag and he nicks it 6-5.
I like it. I think if Petresco was playing pretty much anybody else tomorrow night, I think the home crowd could play a part based on what's happened this evening, and they are now desperate to see one of the home stars make it through to the second round. Unfortunately for them and for Petresco, he's probably up against the one player who loves to rile up the crowd. I mean, we've seen him throughout the UK bringing on the cricket gear, bringing on anything to upset the home crowd as much as he can. And I just think, I think he's playing that well at the moment that he gets the job done, and he really sort of dampens German moods for the entire weekend. So I'm going to say Heta wins 6-3.
Yeah, and I would not be surprised one little bit if that is what we see. Malachi, absolutely agreeing with you. Same scoreline, 6-3. James has gone Heta 6-2. And then I've got Shelty in my corner. He's on 6-4 for Petresco against Heta. One thing I did notice when I had a little look at the head-to-head, they have only ever played 3 times, but every game they've played has been a last leg decider.
Oh, well, so you've got one bit right already then.
Which is I just nailed on to that. After I pointed that out, that is definitely not happening either. Daz in there as well has got 6-2 for Heta, has got it quite comfortable, which, like I say, wouldn't be surprised with whatsoever, but we will see what happens. Up next, we've got the defending champion, which I don't think any of us predicted last year was going to happen. But Peter Wright came through last year's tournament to lift the title, gets underway against Jermaine Wattermina. And I think this is a tough starting point as defending champion because regardless of his ranking, he's actually been playing quite well recently as Wattermina. And I think this will be a tricky one. So I'm going to give it to you.
I actually think Peter Wright's defence of the European Championship comes to an end tomorrow night. Yeah, I think Jermaine Wattermina is playing above what his ranking suggests. We know that we've seen him much higher in the rankings. He seems to be coming out of the lull he's been in, and he's getting back to playing like he can. And if those darts are flying in, then he's a very formidable opponent. It's a tricky one for Wright, and but I don't think he'll be quite up at the races fast enough. And Wattermina wins 6-3.
Yeah, I'm tempted to think that this is the way that this one's going to go, and I think it will be the defending champ exiting at the first round. I don't like what I've seen from Wright over the last couple of years, to be fair. And over recent times as well, he's not been playing well outside of an absolute sort of just anomaly result of beating Damon Heta 6-0 as he did sort of a few weeks ago. Other than that, it's not been very good at any point. And Wattermina has been putting in some very good averages on the Pro Tour. He's been playing well and winning games, and I think he's going to be really dangerous over this short format. And like I say, if he gets into a lead, I think that might be it, and he might run away with it. So I'm going to go for. I'm putting in there'll be a little wobble. He gets ahead, a bit like Dirk today, has a little wobble, but gets over the line 6-4. In the chat room, we have 6-4 Wattermina for Shelty, 6-4 Wright for Malachy, 6-4 Wright for James, 6-4 Wright for Daz as well. And Daz has also gone 6-3 Wright, which is cheating. Like, one or the other. You can't be having two goals. That's absolutely outrageous behaviour in the chat room. If any of them are right now, you're getting no points for that one. Not that there is a points total that anyone could even be bothered to keep up with, but just in case there was, you're losing your points for that. Luke Listler, Andrew Gilding. This is the biggest clash of styles that we could possibly ever see on a dartboard. And I can't see any result other than the quick player of the two rattling through this pretty quickly, other than the fact that he's got to wait for Gilding to throw.
Yeah, at the minute, my sort of thinking is, do I give Gilding a leg? Because, yeah, I just think Luke Littler, he'll be up for this tournament, as in he's had a few wobbles recently, and he wants to just, well, now, everybody's been talking about Luke Humphries. He's been doing amazing things, but I'm still a Luke about town. So I think Littler definitely gets 6.
Yeah.
Gilding, I don't think he gets 1. I think it's a whitewash 6-0 Littler.
I was just sitting on the fence. I was going to go the other way that you went. I'm going to give him 1 on his own throw. But if you'd gone 6-1, I was going 6-0. I'm not for a second thinking this is going to be close, and neither does anyone in the chat room either. 6-0 Luke, 6-2 Luke, 6-2 Luke, and 6-2 Luke again. Yeah, everyone's a little bit kinder than we are, I think, in the chat room, but I just don't see any way that it goes any other way. So Gilding might get a couple of legs on the board, but he isn't winning this game for me.
No, I just think Littler want to put a statement out as well, especially with Humphries on stage straight after him. I think he'd want to say, right, I've won 6-0. What can you do? So that's my sort of nothing against Gilding. I think Gilding could average 93, 94, but I just think Littler's going to average
his game, but it just off. I think
that's the thing.
Point. Yeah. And Connor's going the same way as you. He's got 6-0 as well. And from one Luke onto another Luke. Luke Humphries against Nathan Aspinall. This is just a brilliant game to watch. I don't care how many times he wants to re-grip a dart. I will watch Nathan Aspinall play darts all day long. And Luke Humphries is the same. It's just wonderful to watch when he's in full flow. I think it's my turn to go first again. I think I gave you those two first. So, this is your Johnny Clayton. This one for me. This one. This is. Do I go horse overhead? I want to. I really, really want to. But can I bring myself to do it? No, I can't. I'm not gonna jinx him like that. I will not do that to Nathan Aspinall. 6-4 Luke Humphries in a good game, a close game. Doesn't quite go all the way, but it's a battle to the end.
Yeah, I think this game comes down to whether or not any demons in Aspinall's head aren't there. That the first visit, the darts go nicely. There's no sort of any issues. It all goes smooth, and he doesn't start beating himself up. Because if he starts beating himself up, this game could be over quickly. I'd love to go Aspinall because I think, there's nothing not to like about him. As I think he described himself in an interview with the famous Mr. Phil Bars, just a charm from Stockport, as in there's nothing not to like about the kid. He's a quality dance player. He's just not at the races at the moment, and I really hope he does get back to his best because he's world class, and when he's in full motion, there's no one better to watch. I just think it's a horrible draw for him. As in, there's probably 30 other players in this draw he'd have rather played than Luke Humphries, but somebody had to play him. And unfortunately for Nathan, it's him that's come up against him. I think he'll stick with Luke early on, but I feel in the middle legs Humphries runs away with it. So I'm going to go 6-3 Luke, but I'd be delighted if we got an 11 leg match in this one.
Yeah, I would as well. If we could get a proper Nathan Aspinall scrap to the end, would be great to see. James has got Humphries 6-4, the same as me. Me and Daz can be friends. He's got Aspinall winning 6-3. I take back everything I said, Daz, about having 2 picks before. You can have extra points. As many goals as you want. Malachi's got Humphries 6-4, and we've got Humphries 6-4 from Chelsea as well. On to the final game of the night then, and we have Josh Rock against, you just mentioned the famous Mr. Phil Bars, as we have to get it in now and then, the newly crowned World Grand Prix champion, as he was christened by Mr. Phil Bars accidentally on his Twitter. Mike the Dicker is up against Josh Rock in the final spot. Mike the Dicker, Josh Rock. I think it's me first again on this one. I fancy that Josh Rock wins this. I think, as well as Dideka played at the Grand Prix, and as good as he clearly is, I think we see a little hangover from having won that trophy so recently. And I just think he might not be 100% at it. And Josh Rock over a short format is very, very dangerous with his scoring power and the way that he can take the game away from you. And I think he does that, and I think he wins 6-3. I don't actually think it's that close.
Oh, wow. I thought we'd be struggling to differentiate here, because I think De Decker's just on this cloud at the moment. And I sort of compare his recent form to when Leicester City won the Premier League. Everything just went right for an extended period of time, and this run just developed from nowhere. And I think it continues. I think I don't think De Decker wins this weekend, but I think I think it could go deep. But this half of the draw is pretty tricky, and there's one or two Lukes that might have something else to say. But for tomorrow night, I believe Mike De Decker wins 6-4 in a very competitive, high average game, and it'll be a much better show stopper than tonight's grand finale was.
Well, you'd like to think so. You certainly hope so. If
if not,
worse, something gone wrong, I'll be honest. Yeah, you've got a couple of people agreeing with you in here. We have got James with 6-4, De Decker as well. Shelty's also gone 6-4 to De Decker. And Daz has got 6-4 to Rock, as has Maliki. So everyone thinks it's going at least 10 legs. Everyone thinks it's going to be pretty close. And pretty split. We've got 3 either way if you include us two. So it's a good way to end, and one that, like you say, it should be a much better one than what we saw in the last game of tonight. And that's us all done. So
I think sorry to interrupt you, Cam. I think what's been amazing tonight, though, is we've gone through those 8 games now, and apart from one game where we've all gone Littler, the chat has pretty much been split. Or through every game. I think in terms of entertainment, hopefully the Darts lives up to our predictions, because nobody can really agree on anything.
I say it's basically going to be 6-5 in every game after getting none of them tonight, which means that I don't know whether we've got you with me tomorrow night or not. I'm not sure whether we finalise tomorrow night, but it's going to be certainly a much later night than it's tonight. Although we've done our best to make it late still. We're at 1 hour and 4 minutes now of the show, which I think is a good place to end. Daz, as you said, it is me that will be running the ship tomorrow. Who I've got with me yet, I'm not 100% sure. Dan will be, I nearly said something wildly inappropriate then to end the show. And on that note, I will see you all tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and good evening.